All right, good afternoon, everybody. And it's been one busy day here with Josh and Paul. Maybe you just listened to the President of the United States talk about the fact that if you are fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask, indoors or outdoors, if you are fully vaccinated. We'll get to those rules in just a minute. Before I give you the COVID Daily Summary, I just wanted to give you an update on where we are on the nursing homes and what we worried might be a strike. I was there at DPH, Department of Public Health, this morning. People were lined up. They had their suitcases. They're ready to leave at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I am very hopeful at this point that that strike has been averted, thanks to Melissa McCall and Paul Mounds taking the lead in negotiations on behalf of the state, the nursing home operators, and 1199 who represent all the frontline nurses at the nursing homes have got together, and we have a basic agreement which is a 4-year deal that puts front and center our nurses who have been there at the nursing homes taking care of our seniors through thick and thin over the last 14 months. And they will be getting a significant raise over the next 4 years. We originally had a 2-year deal. Now it's a 4-year agreement. I also want to thank the nursing home operators who got together with the union and helped put this together. We still have to get agreement from each of the different unions and operators, each of the different operators, but I am very confident we'll have some news on that before the evening is out. More on that later if you want. What you see in the COVID Daily Summary is a continuation of the good news that's going on now since February. Our positivity rate now is about less than 2%, 1.5%, the 7-day average. Hospitalizations, lowest since October. Fatalities, a lagging indicator. But I think you see continuing good news. Remember, we used to have those maps where the whole map was sort of red, and that meant we were very infected. Well, we're down to, I think, about 26 of our 169 towns. 26 are still in that red category. They tend to be in and around Naugatuck Valley, a little bit in the cities, up around southeast Connecticut and some of the rural areas. But overwhelmingly, I think you see we're making extraordinary progress, and that's reflected in extraordinary progress in vaccinations. So you probably heard that the CDC is expanding the pool of people who can get vaccinated to 12 to 15-year-olds. We've been doing 16 to 17-year-olds for a while. So I've got Dr. Jody Terranova, who's going to be here from UConn Health, to give us an update on what that means for young people in just a minute. But we are making an extra effort. It's now available to your 12 to 15-year-old. We're passing the word through schools, get the word out to parents. They can take you to a mass vaccination site. You don't need an appointment. Go to a pharmacy. Go to one of our mobile clinics. And we'll be rolling out school clinics. We started now in a more aggressive way between now and the end of the school year. I think it's very good news. I mean, as you know, the last group of people that get vaccinated are the youngest population. You know what the fear of infection meant. We had to quarantine on occasion. We had to close down schools. Sports teams had to take a break. I like to think that if parents and their kids are aggressive about getting vaccinated, that will be in the rear view mirror. We're going to have a great end to the school year, and then our summer learning camps will be safe, plus the outdoor sports. So, Dr. Terranova can tell us a little more about that in a minute. We're trying to do everything we can in terms of vaccine access. I'm sort of amused. There are a lot of people now trying, different incentives out there. I see Governor DeWine in Ohio says, hey, you can get access to $1 million lottery ticket. We're not that profligate yet, but I do notice Stafford Speedway is going to have a free vaccination van right there May 14th, Friday. Go there. It's an amazing thing to do. If you go there, you get a free hot dog. So that's one of the pluses you have. Other things we're doing to make it easier for you to get vaccinated. We've got these vaccination vans. You see the mobile van right there. Generally, we've been knocking on doors telling you when the vans come into your neighborhood. Now we can turn this on its head. If you've got a big enough workplace, your school, you're having a school fair, you're having a fair, a parade in downtown, a concert, maybe something at the beach, give us a call. Give us a call at ct.gov, COVID vaccines /vax vans. We will get the vaccine van to you, bringing the vaccine right to you in your neighborhood where you've got a good group of people lining up, doing everything we can to keep the momentum going a little bit longer. Look, we've gone from 230,000 vaccines a week down to about 42,000, opening up to a younger demographic. I think you'll see a few more people getting vaccinated, hopefully over the next 2-3 weeks. And don't forget, starting next Wednesday, drinks on us. So you don't want to be the one person sitting around the restaurant. Restaurants are open, they're outdoors, you're vaccinated, not vaccinated, don't have to wear the mask outdoors. You can get yourself a free drink if you've been vaccinated. Cheers to the vax. Join the vaccine. Let's shake things up. This gives you an idea. You don't want 5 people sitting around getting their free drink and, oh, sorry, you got to reach in your pocket and pay. So these are all different ways we're trying to have a little fun, get people incented to get vaccinated. Okay, let's follow up on where President Biden and the CDC is in terms of what we're doing. As you know, we've been anticipating this for a while. May 19th, as you know, which is next Wednesday, we're ending all the business restrictions. And that's because we've got 72% of our adults have been vaccinated, had at least their first shot. And that allows us to do this. It allows us to do this safely. So that means no more curfew, no more social distancing, no capacity restrictions for those big events we're thinking about, opens things up a little bit more. Outdoor masking is no longer required for anybody, vaccinated or unvaccinated, unless you're in a very tight area, one of those particularly large events where I would still recommend it to those who, especially those who have been unvaccinated. That's our guidance. Indoor masking will still be required for the unvaccinated for a little bit longer. I think that's the right thing to do. A lot of our stores and restaurants have said it gives their customers comfort, makes it a little easier for us to be clear. Unvaccinated people indoors still must wear the mask. And there are a variety of other unique circumstances where they want fully vaccinated people. For example, airplanes and public transportation where you're close in. So that's all per the new CDC guidance. And you just maybe heard some of that referred to by President Biden. A lot of businesses are saying, where are we? What are you thinking about as state government? How about this telecommuting? When do we start getting people back to the office? Obviously, that's up to you. And when it comes to your store, you or your restaurant, you can say masks are required or not. You have a lot of discretion there. This is what we're doing as state government. This is what Josh has just notified folks. On June 1st, so that's coming up in a few weeks, all of our customer-facing offices in state government are going to be fully open. That's Department of Social Services, Department of Labor, of course, DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. They'll probably be asking people to wear a mask coming in. That's per some of the agreements we have. July 1st, we're going to get back to sort of our pre-COVID rules, which is we want most people coming back into the office. We do have the rules where up to 50% can telecommute, but we're going to start getting people back to the office on a more regular basis starting July 1st. I think it's time, and I think it makes it easier for people to connect. But we've learned a little bit about changes we can make that are permanent going forward as we work our way through the end of the ninth inning of COVID. One, in our customer-facing, appointment options will continue. So you'll still be able to get an appointment at DMV. You can just walk in and do your appointment, or even easier, you'll be able to do that online, which has greatly reduced the lines, and more people are doing it online than in person. But if you want an appointment, you can get an appointment. You can get an appointment at DSS. You can get an appointment at DOL. These are the ways we're trying to make it a little easier. So if you can't do it remotely, you can't do it virtually, you can make an appointment. and the more efficient use of our office space. Look, fewer people are going to be in the office going forward, given the telecommuting, given the virtual. We're consolidating, downsizing our office space here for state government. I think you've seen that across the board. We got 2 buildings. One is sold. One's about to be sold. They'll be moving from commercial to residential. We're downsizing some of our big office leases as well. I think these are the type of changes you're going to see in your state government. I think you're going to see more and more businesses following that lead. If you want more details, Josh could follow through on that. Next, this all looks purple to me, but I'll tell you what it means to say. It means to say that all of our counties have added population since January of 2020. Relocations from big cities to mid-sized and small metro areas are up 23%. The lighter areas, that's Fairfield County, if you can see that, has had the biggest boost in population. Darker areas, say Northwest Connecticut, a little less at this point. Northeast Connecticut, a little less. But you can see overall across the state, increases in population. Yellow are places that have a decrease. This has got to be a little creative here, but I think that's maybe Massachusetts and Boston is that yellow. So you can see Connecticut is unique in the last 10 years, by the way, for even our own state, where people are coming back. Hartford, Connecticut, if you can see that small chart, starting, over about the last year or so, a big chart where many more were leaving than coming. You see where it crosses now. Many more are coming into Hartford County than leaving Hartford County. Most of that is due to migration, people moving here, often from New York, but not all of it. I got a kick out of this. We have a bit of a baby boom here in Connecticut, which I sort of enjoy. Maybe the birth rate has dropped again around the rest of the country. The pandemic may be accelerating the decline. You saw that 2 weeks ago in the New York Times, but not in Connecticut. As Hearst, Connecticut Insider reports, as COVID stress eases, some Connecticut doctors see a baby boom. So, I don't know, Virginia's for lovers, Connecticut's for lovers who want to have a family. So, and if Las Vegas, what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas, hopefully what happens in Connecticut, people stay in Connecticut. We see our families growing and we see our population growing. It's a really good day. With that, talking about young people, let's get back a little more seriously. Dr. Jody Terranova, she's there. She's UConn Health. She's American Academy of Pediatrics. Frontline. She knows what moms and dads are asking about their kids getting vaccinated, 12 to 15. What are you hearing, Jody, and what are you telling people?
Thank you, Governor. This week, from our families, we're really hearing, where can we get our child vaccinated? The pediatricians and the parents have been waiting for the 12 and up age group to be eligible. And so those parents that have been sitting on the edge of their seat waiting to get it have been calling to find out where. And we're happy to offer the sites that you mentioned. There's not many pediatrician offices doing it quite yet, but we know around the state there are plenty of places that we can send our patients to. Other questions the parents are asking are about side effects. They want to know if the side effects are the same in children as adults. And what the studies have shown is that, yes, it's true. After the first dose, there are a little bit less side effects, but still kind of that fatigue, headache, maybe a fever for a day or two. And after the second dose, a few more people experience side effects, but that overall it's very well tolerated and that the side effects are short-lived while the benefits are long-lasting. And then one of the final questions that we hear from parents that aren't quite sure yet if they should vaccinate their child is, we thought children didn't really get sick from COVID, so why do they need the vaccine? And so while we have been very fortunate to see that children are not impacted as severely as adults and older adults have been, it doesn't mean they have not been impacted at all. Right here in Connecticut, we've had many children in the hospital. We've had our own patients in our practice in the intensive care unit. Children get a very severe complication, a multi-system inflammatory disease that adults don't get. So children are still being impacted by COVID, and they're also being impacted socially and emotionally. The kids that have been having to stay home from school and learn virtually, from not being able to socialize with their friends, go to camp, play sports. We really want them to get back to normal. And I think the kids understand that getting vaccinated will get us all closer to normal. And really, it's the best way to end the pandemic, to vaccinate themselves to protect them as an individual, but then also understanding that being part of a citizen of a community is to do something that will help the other people around them. And so we really are encouraging parents to vaccinate their children as soon as they're eligible.
Hey, Jody, thank you very much. If you want to stick around a little bit, it's totally up to you, but we're happy to take your questions.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Yes, Governor, just a real quick question on this whole unmasking. Do you think that we could have done this sooner here in Connecticut? As we take a look at our daily positivity rate, it's been fairly solid for the last month and a half.
Maybe, but I think we're sort of along lines of the CDC. I think it makes pretty good sense. I talked to store owners and restaurants. They wanted to build up confidence of people going back, especially indoors. So I think they appreciated the masking. I think now with people fully vaccinated, that's very liberating. It's one more reason to get fully vaccinated. So I think our timing is good enough.
A question for you, and also Dr. Terranova. I'd like you to weigh in on masks for children in schools, because like the doctor was saying, you have to weigh the social and emotional risks of this, as well as, the virus effects. What do you think should be done in schools for the unvaccinated children?
Dr. Terranova, why don't you take that?
Absolutely. So I think that unvaccinated children should still wear masks in school. And as I've seen in my office, the kids really don't mind wearing their mask. Even the youngest ones, they're usually the best. The 3, the 4, the 5-year-olds keep their mask on, and they do great with it. And I think it's something that they've really gotten used to, and they know it allows them to be with their friends and around them in a safe way. And so for those younger kids especially that won't be vaccinated for a bit longer, we really need them to keep their masks on.
Thank you both very much.
News 8.
Following along the lines of in school, do you see allowing schools to unmask? Will you allow that, or are you going to let that be a school-by-school decision, or do more kids need to be vaccinated first?
I'll start with that. My feeling is that between now and, say, June 20th or whatever the schools let out, we're not going to have enough of the kids vaccinated. I would say they're going to continue to wear the mask, through the end of this school year. Then, as Dr. Terranova said, I'd like to think by the fall we've got the vast majority of our kids vaccinated and won't be necessary.
And following up on the negotiations for the nursing homes, you said a 4-year deal. Are there more details you can give us?
I can give you a few more details. We had originally proposed 4.5% and 4.5% over 2 years. That was about 9%. That's 9% over 2 years. We ended up at a 10.7% front-loaded 4.5%, and I guess it's 6.2%. And then, but it extends out for 4 years, 0, the final 2 years. I think that was good. Got some additional money up front to the nurses in a real way. And we also, I care deeply about the reform, looking at where the nursing homes are going to be over the next 10 years. We gave them a 10% Medicaid bump up over the next 9 months. So to see how many people go back to nursing homes, what the long-term trends maybe look like at that point, and we can think about some reforms thereafter, depending on what the changes may be. Paul, do you want to add something? You've been on the front lines of these negotiations.
Yeah, no, like I said, the governor's main priority was to get all the parties back into the room. We have been having conversations very diligently with union leadership of 1199 in the nursing home industry. We spent a lot of our time yesterday speaking to the nursing home industry to see exactly what they'll be able to put up on the table. As the governor stated, the most recent letter that we have sent had a revision as it deals with the 2-year the first 2 years as it deals with the Medicaid rate, with a focus in the second year also including health and pension pool enhancement. That was something that would be able to get all parties to really get over the line. We are also keeping a focus, as always important to the governor, in terms of workforce development. And at the end of the day, the package that we currently put forth to the union leadership, as well as to the nursing home leaders, is actually will be below in terms of what our original offer was on Monday. So while there was movement, the overall state cost will be lower in the end on that front. But as the governor stated, this is still a negotiation and discussion that is happening both with 1199 and the individual nursing homes. So we will be waiting further for details, but we're feeling that we're in a very promising position, much different than where we were at this time yesterday.
Thank you.
NBC Connecticut.
Good afternoon, everyone. Governor, I just want to clarify. So as far as CDC recommendations, we're not taking effect for that today. So the outdoor masking no longer required. Those who are fully vaccinated not required to mask indoors. We're still waiting for that to take effect on May 19th.
Technically speaking, we've got to change our executive orders, but I think you can relax a little bit.
But just to clarify, May 19th would still be the date for that?
May 19th is the formal date where all that goes into effect, and we've formally changed our executive order, especially as regards vaccinated people no longer having to wear masks indoors.
And is there any requirement you're considering to prove that you have been fully vaccinated?
No, I don't think so. I think every store, business, restaurant may have their own rules that way. At this point, I think people are going to self-attest. I hope we can count on them to do the right thing.
And I do want to clarify on that point regarding businesses. If grocery stores or restaurants want everyone to remain masked indoors following May 19th, that's still their prerogative.
That's still their prerogative, absolutely.
Thank you.
Fox 61.
Hi, Governor. I'm getting your reaction, and Paul, if you'd like to chime in as well. There were obviously several rallies, Middletown, Hartford, over the past several weeks from SEIC, sort of a big battle. What's your reaction to now finally reaching an agreement, so to speak, and to be clear, avoiding this strike that DPH and the National Guard were preparing for?
I'll start. I am very pleased that on behalf of the seniors in our nursing homes, on behalf of the frontline nurses who showed up every day, I'm very pleased that the 1199 union sat down with the nursing home operators and came to a just conclusion that gives people certainty over the next 4 years. And I'm really thankful that Paul and Melissa were able to take the lead on our behalf and help get this done.
I'll just add, there wasn't one person in our administration that wanted a strike to occur. We also understand the fiduciary responsibility we have to the people of Connecticut. But the governor won't say it, but I'll say it for him. I'm proud to work for this governor who wanted to put the concerns of the workers first and foremost. All negotiations are tough, but at the end, everyone can hold hands and really celebrate together. I will also say that while we are a very promising place, the unions and the nursing home industry still need to solidify their agreements. But I can say this directly, that they were both pleased with the direction that the state has provided as it deals with our role in this matter. And at the same time, as I stated before, it will be at an amount that was less than what we had earlier this week. But it will, as the governor stated, it will have more of an effect earlier for those within the nursing home industry, particularly the workers.
And Paul, I know you mentioned the number from this week was bouncing around 280 million. Do you have a rough number of what it would be now, or is that still being decided?
I would say the rough number now will be around 267 million, which will represent a state share of 135 million approximately, where earlier this week we presented a package that was at 280 million, as you stated. and that was going to represent a state share around $147 million.
Thank you. And then, Governor, just to clarify, so on May 19th, Connecticut will still be requiring indoor masking, or no, considering the CDC's new recommendation that came out today?
No indoor masking requirement for anybody who is fully vaccinated following the CDC guidelines. But for those of you who are not fully vaccinated, we still will require that you wear a mask indoors.
Thank you.
News 12 Connecticut.
Afternoon. Is there concern that people who do not want to get vaccinated could take advantage of these new unmasking rules?
Yeah, there's a concern. I mean, people were handing out fake vaccination cards outside the Capitol just 10 days ago. But I think overwhelmingly the people of Connecticut have done the right thing. They're much more likely to get the flu vaccine, which is voluntary. I think there's obviously been some caution, and a lot of people took a little bit of extra time to get vaccinated. But I like to think people know what the rules are and they'll follow them. It's about them, but it's also about the people they're in contact with every day.
And do you have any suggestions for some of these businesses who do want to go ahead with some of these unmasking rules to, have some of these requirements for people who are unvaccinated? Anything that you suggest to these businesses?
Look, some people may ask for authentication to show that you have been vaccinated. Some, in crowded areas may say, I want everybody to wear a mask. That's going to be up to the discretion of the businesses. I think the overwhelming majority will leave it up to the customer to self-declare whether they've been vaccinated or not, whether they're obligated to wear a mask or not.
Thank you.
Connecticut Public Media.
Do you have an approximate number of how many people now qualify for vaccines since it's been opened up to 12 and above? Or how many specifically are in between that age group now that qualify?
Josh, do you have that?
It's 177,000.
177,000. That's for the category
12 to 15.
12 to 15.
I believe you mentioned Monday. Is there going to be more weekend availability since a lot of these kids are obviously in school to get vaccinated to encourage them to get the shot?
Yes. I mean, what I'm told is that's easiest for the parents. The kids are free. We're going to have the mass vaccination centers open, CVS, Walmart, they're all ready to go.
And now that the CDC guidance has changed on masks, what is it going to look like at the Capitol starting May 19th? Are people walking in going to have to show their vaccination cards that they have been fully vaccinated to come in without a mask?
Well, as you know, this is the building that's run by the legislature. They kindly let me keep my office here. So I think they'll be setting the rules in terms of how much they want to do remote and how much they may want to have in person.
Thank you.
The Associated Press.
Thanks, Max. I just wanted to, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to clarify something on this basic agreement. So the unions still need to agree on this, right, with the homes? I just wanted to clarify, are we sure that the strike won't happen?
I'll start and then pass it right over to Paul. Right now, all the early indications are that 1199, the union, feels very confident and that this is a good agreement. They do have to reach an agreement with each of the independent nursing home operators. These are private companies, these nursing home operators, right? We're just the guys that fund about 85% of it. So they have to reach those agreements. I think Paul thinks we're going to make good progress there.
Exactly, and as I know, the 1199 leadership is meeting with their negotiating teams as we speak right now, and with any agreement and negotiation, we have to respect the parties. But as the governor stated, we had a large role in it in terms of as it deals with the various rate structure, and also wanting to provide support as it deals with the health and pension pool enhancement as well and workforce development. So we feel that the state has put forth a package that will allow the parties to have very promising and developments today. I will not sit here and particularly say that something is averted until they put forth their official notice to the Department of Public Health. But the conversations that we have had with both the industry and with 1199 has given the governor and his senior staff a sense of comfort that there is strong progress that is being made before we get to a deadline of tomorrow.
So what is the next step?
The next step would be, obviously, Sue, the 1199 put forth the strike notice. The next step would be for them to take down the strike notice or postpone any strike notice to allow for negotiations and final agreements to be made by all the negotiating parties.
Okay. And Governor, you've taken a lot of heat, I guess I could say, from the left side of your party, especially over this nursing home issue, but also taxes. I wondered what your reaction is to that.
Well, first of all, my reaction on this is it's a good deal. It's a good deal for the nurses, frontline nurses, the biggest increase they've gotten in many a year. I think it shows we're keeping faith with the folks who are taking care of our parents and grandparents. And more broadly speaking, I think we're going to be coming together over the next couple weeks around the budget and other issues. We've got a significant package when it comes to equity and social justice and investments in our most distressed communities, which is important to me and important to many of our legislators. I think we're pretty unified on that.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
The Waterbury Republican American.
Thanks very much. I'd like to go back to the telework questions. One, obviously, Josh, I think you know this. How many workers were teleworking at sort of the height? Do we have a number on that? And how many were engaging in telework at the present time, or the latest count that you have?
We've had about a third of our executive branch state employees who have jobs that require them to go in every day. So Department of Corrections, our emergency services, public protection, Department of Transportation, Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, many others. That's about a third of the state workforce. The other 2/3 has been telecommuting to some degree, over the last 15 months during the pandemic. Some of those folks have been telecommuting close to 100% of the time. Some are coming in intermittently. So there's a mix, Paul, depending on the agency, the nature of the work. So hopefully that answers your question.
Sure. In terms of productivity?
Yeah, we've been pleased overall with how productive, the teams have been able to remain despite the disruptions of the pandemic. There's been a lot of tremendous efforts by our IT team under the leadership of our CIO, Mark Raymond, who helped support, a dramatic shift of that 2/3 of the workforce to telecommuting on the drop of a hat about 14 months ago. And a lot of flexibility from a lot of our workers as well, who had to juggle a lot of things, not just professionally, but personally as well. So overall, we've been pleased, but we are really looking forward to seeing people more often in the office again.
Sure. And the governor's advisory to state employees referenced the ongoing, well, I don't know if they're ongoing, that you guys were supposed to be negotiating a final agreement, that you guys have been operating under an interim agreement that's on telework that was negotiated. Can you tell us what is the status of the negotiations on a, final agreement or more permanent agreement?
Sure. Well, the discussions continue with our partners in labor, and as we have more details as those discussions progress, we'll be happy to share them.
Well, I guess I'm asking, have you been having those discussions? I mean, obviously, there's been a lot going on in the last year, so I don't know if those discussions were sort of put on hold while you're dealing with the pandemic and delivering state services and whatnot.
Yeah. With regards to telework, largely they were. So we can resume those discussions when our partners in labor are ready.
Okay. And Governor, I'd like to follow up on one of Jamie's questions. It seems there could be a bit of tension being set up here if you're going to require people who are unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated to continue to wear masks. but others not. And I'm sure there's some parents out there that are wondering how they're going to be explaining to their kids while they still have to wear masks, while some grown-ups around them don't. So I'm just wondering what's your thoughts on that tension and how it might be resolved. Like, I'm not sure it can be.
I'm not sure it can be. Look, the CDC and Joe Biden were pretty clear. They said if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're not fully vaccinated, you got to wear a mask indoors. You know, how you enforce it and the tension between those, I think we'll work it out. But I think intuitively, I hope the people in Connecticut understand why the CDC set those guidelines. They probably make a certain amount of sense, and I think the vast majority of people will follow that.
And could you perhaps provide, I don't know, perhaps a more definite time range involved here? You said for a while longer, and you referenced school kids maybe not having to wear the masks in the upcoming school year. So for folks who aren't vaccinated or fully vaccinated, when might they be exempted from, or the mask wearing requirement be lifted for them?
That's a good question. Look, obviously, get vaccinated. Then I don't have to make all these discriminations about the 18% of the people who do not get vaccinated but are potentially infectious. Do they have to wear a mask? Probably a little bit longer. It's just a little more risky for everybody around you. So I'd say for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Governor, can I be able to jump in? I feel like I'm someone breaking news, but for everyone, we have just received at the Department of Public Health the rescission of one of the strike notices for the eye care facilities, and that there will be a postponement of their strike notice and moving it to June 7th. As I said, that would be for 11 facilities under the eye care, and we'll be awaiting to hear as it deals with the other nursing homes. And whether the 1199 will provide the strike rescissions or postponements for that. So that'll be 11 facilities under eye care. And of course, we had the Regal Care postponement that occurred yesterday.
Good news, Paul.
The Day of New London.
Hi, everyone. I have a question about recreational cannabis for Paul or the governor. Given that the Black and Puerto Rican caucus and the Progressive caucus, which obviously represents a large Democratic voting bloc, are most likely to back Rep. Porter's recreational cannabis bill, how much are you willing to negotiate with them?
Stan, I'm willing to negotiate. I want to do the right thing. I think broadly we agree that a lot of the revenues from legalized marijuana, regulated marijuana, ought to go to the most distressed communities. I think there's broad understanding about that's where we want to go. The specifics in and around that, Jonathan Harris has taken the lead, but I think we're rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I would say the parties are not that far apart, and I know you're saying Rep. Porter's bill, but there is a negotiating group that is set up by the legislative leaders that is not only inclusive of the Labor Committee chair. And I think, as I said at previous press conferences, the parties have been meeting back and forth. We're waiting for a new draft of language from the legislative body that could be reviewed by the governor and myself. But as the governor has stated previously, he would like to see a bill move forward. But at the same time, there are certain principles that the governor feels is very important to ensure that we have a fully safe, regulated market within the state of Connecticut.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. One more thing about this. In general, why do you think there are two differing recreational cannabis bills? What do you see as the main difference between the two that's causing disagreement?
Keep going.
If I may, Governor?
Yeah.
It's called the legislative process. Any committee could put up a bill that they feel is within their cognizance. The Labor Committee put up their bill. The governor had forth his bill that was within the Judiciary Committee. There's bills that was all over the place that have other relevant portions. It's part of the sausage making. So it's nothing contentious. It's just part of the process. But the one part of the process that's always consistent is it's got to be a bill that can get to the governor's desk that he can sign. And that's what we're focused on and working on. And so there's no animosity. I know there's a lot of rhetoric that was said up front, questioning where the governor stood and what he believed in. But as someone who's been working with this governor since the start of the administration, I know exactly what he believes in, and that's moving the state forward and not having us go backwards. And we look forward to having a bill that continuously do that for the state of Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
The Hartford Current.
Hey, everybody. This is Emily Brindley from The Current. First question, just kind of a clarification on what happens on May 19th. So I understand that the indoor masking requirement will still be in place for unvaccinated people. Are there any other restrictions that will still be in place on the 19th? I know there's some loosenings that will still be in place, like expanded outdoor dining, but will there be any other restrictions still in place on the 19th?
Josh, do you want to take that?
Sure. So first of all, it's important to clarify, as the governor mentioned earlier, there will be some environments and locations where masking will still be required for vaccinated people as well, such as in airplanes and buses and trains and hospitals and nursing homes and other high-risk environments and schools, as was mentioned previously, and there may be others. So we'll be working through that in the coming days. But in terms of other restrictions, the simple answer, Emily, is no with regards to executive orders. But our Department of Public Health is going to be publishing some guidance documents that provide kind of best practices and recommendations about certain types of venues, how to ensure, maximum safety in those environments as we, fully reopen next Wednesday.
So just to clarify that point, the masking requirements for like nursing homes and schools, that will be from the state in an executive order?
That's correct. So as President Biden mentioned earlier, and CDC Director Walensky mentioned earlier, there are exceptions to this indoor masking rule for vaccinated people. And those were some of the categories were listed, but they also specified that states would need to kind of promulgate the exact guidance relative to their requirements and their needs. And so that's the process we'll be working through in the coming days.
And then I also wanted to ask about the mobile vaccine clinics and the ability to kind of like request those to different locations. Could somebody explain to me a bit like what that process will look like and who can request a van? Can anybody request a van? Is it only town officials? Is it just event organizers? Like, how is this going to kind of work?
Sure. So that the website that was shown on the chart earlier, ct.gov/COVID vaccine/vaxvans. Anyone can go on that website. So right now you can go on there yourself, Emily, and you could request a vaccine ban. Now, there's going to be some prioritization obviously done, and we do ask for some details about, how many people will be there, what's the purpose of the event. We're obviously going to try to target the vans to events that, are likely to have the highest number of people there who could get vaccinated. So there will be some prioritization, but anyone can go on that website and request a van.
And last thing, it is Thursday, so I was wondering if you have those updated SVI numbers.
I do. 30% again this week.
And just, I guess, last thing following up on that, is there any consideration being given to increasing that target beyond what would be proportional for those communities?
Well, look, we're at the point in this where we're just trying to get every single person we possibly can find vaccinated. As the governor indicated earlier, the volumes that we're seeing coming in for first doses have declined quite a bit, as they have done across the nation. So we're really focused on just making it as easy as everyone we possibly can to get vaccinated from here on in.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
The Connecticut Mirror.
Thanks, Max. I have a question for the governor or for Paul or both involving the cost of the nursing home deal, and specifically the point I think it was Paul brought out that it's going to actually cost the state $13 million less in the next budget cycle, which I don't dispute. But wouldn't you agree that because we raised the Medicaid rates specifically in 2023 from your original offer from 4.5% to 6.2%, the odds of the legislature ever scaling that back are slim to none. So wouldn't it be fair to say that your revised offer ultimately was more valuable to the industry and the nursing homes than your original?
Well, I'll start with that. No. we got a 4-year agreement, Keith. The original was a 2-year agreement, and at the end of 2 years, we were going to have to start this whole renegotiation again with probably some changes. I really appreciate that we're able to get a 4-year agreement. It gives the nursing home operators certainty, gives the taxpayers of Connecticut certainty, and it gives the nurses certainty. They know exactly what they're going to get over the next 4 years.
I think we might be saying the same thing, Governor. I said it's more your revised offer was more valuable, more attractive to the union and the industry, meaning that's why they took it, not because I didn't want people to think, well, they settled for $13 million less than you originally offered. There was a reason your revised offer was more attractive. And I'm saying, wouldn't you agree? It was the higher Medicaid rate you offered, because those rarely get reduced.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Yeah, you can go with that, but I can also counter and said the governor's previous offer had $19.5 million for particular retirement enhancements, also had hazard pay of 12.5. It had workforce at 13 million. That's not chump change itself as well. So no, it was probably more something that they felt was better for them at the moment. But I think the governor also felt that a lot of the other elements he put on the table was very valuable as well. But at the end of the day, as I was happy to announce about eye care, and we'll look forward to getting the notices about the others. I think this is some very promising steps that we're taking.
Thank you.
Hearst, Connecticut Media.
Thanks, Max. Paul, for practical purposes, have any of the individual bargaining units or nursing homes agreed to the new deal?
They won't. You can't say that they have officially agreed until they have adopted an agreement between the parties itself. What we can say is that the industry, as well as the unions, were pleased with what we have put back on the table based upon the numerous conversations late into the night, particularly yesterday, with them. I was in the governor and Secretary McCall and Commissioner Gifford, who I want to particularly give a lot of credit to, who was working both sides of this elements in terms of working with us on the financial portion, but also having to stand up the units and preparations, reviewing strike plans if something did happen on Friday. So I want to make sure our commissioner gets due credit on that end. But overall, I would say when it comes to what has been presented and what is on the table, both parties were very pleased, and it allowed them to really get back and have really aggressive conversations with each other.
I'm sorry to make you to repeat yourself. How much do you think it has cost the nursing home so far, bringing people in for strike contingencies?
I don't have that number offhand, but we can follow up offline.
Okay, thanks. And Governor, can you describe what it took to get both parties back to the bargaining table here in the 11th hour?
I can tell you that there were a lot of calls being made locally as well as Washington, D.C., saying how important it was that we get people together. I can tell you that Paul and Melissa and Deirdre worked hard with both parties, the nursing home operators as well as 1199. You know, we had put a very firm, clear offer on the table. They had to work off of that. And I think people of goodwill came together. And I think the nursing home operators and the nurses represented by 1199 really had the best interests of the seniors at heart.
And Governor, have you signed that bill that extends your powers to June 20th yet?
I think I have. Nora brought in a lot of bills today, and I think that was one of them.
I'll answer it. It was one of them, and we will be putting out a bill notification after this press conference.
But with everything, May 19th is kind of just a date on the calendar now. Why do you need 2 extra months? And I'm not channeling the Republicans in the Senate right now, honest.
Look, we had broad discussions with the leaders on both sides of the aisle. You know, as you know, we're just rolling out to 12 to 15 vaccinations. My hunch is there'll be a vaccination effort for a younger demographic sometime this summer, early fall. We are worried a little bit about the possibility of the variants coming in. We may need some booster shots. So there are a lot of very public health specific reasons that we thought we should have some flexibility so we can react. And I really appreciate the leadership giving us that flexibility. But if there's anything we're doing they don't like, they have the right to veto it as well.
Oh, yeah, that bill's got to, I guess the Senate's going to do it today. Thanks. And Paul, I think you should have told Dr. Terranova to put on her mask when you started talking about the legislative process.
Yeah, I probably had to tell the whole state of Connecticut to put on their mask for that, too.
See ya.
CT News Junkie.
Thanks, Max. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. This deal, does it impact group homes too, or just nursing homes?
This is nursing homes.
Okay. Governor, what is your take on that bill that the Senate's doing tonight that kind of gives them veto power and switches a little bit of the framework for executive orders there?
I think it's appropriate. I mean, they've been back in session since early January. They had the opportunity for the last 4 months to take a look at any of the different business protocols we have or public health initiatives and make changes, some of which they've done. They made telehealth permanent, or at least for the next 2 years. So I think it's appropriate that they have that oversight role.
Okay. Some advocates gathered outside the Capitol today looking for the passage of the Clean Slate bill. What's your thinking on that? I know you had a similar proposal last year that didn't include felonies. Where do you stand on what the legislature is trying to do with the C and D felonies this year?
Yeah, I've been briefed on that a little bit. Look, I understand. You serve your time. It's not a life sentence. You deserve a chance to get back on your feet, and maybe there's a gap after you're serving your time before those your record could be expunged. There's a discussion about what records do get expunged and how severe the crime it is, and I think that's going to go on a little bit longer. My instinct is it's an important trend in the right direction. Do we have to do it all in year one? I'm not sure, but I think it's important what we're trying to do to give people, if they're going to get a second chance, they deserve a real second chance.
So if they passed a bill that did include low-level felonies, would you sign it?
That's a broad term. I got to see what it is. But look, if it's nonviolent and I think people can feel confident, I think I would sign that.
Okay. One last thing. Both chambers have now passed the bill that would change where prison inmates are counted as far as redistricting goes. Is that something you would sign?
Yeah, that makes pretty good sense to me. You come from that town, just because you're spending some time, in a correctional facility, you're still from that town. That makes good sense to me.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting the signal here. First of all, Dr. Terranova, thank you so much for joining us. Listen to what Dr. Jody said. Your 12 to 15-year-old should get vaccinated. It's now possible. I just to tell you, all the back and forth on what we had to do with the nursing homes and the seniors and people coming together, I was really moved down at the Department of Public Health today. I mean, these are folks who have been on the front line for the last 14, 15 months, broadly in terms of public health, specifically when it came to our nursing homes, which were hardest hit. They were in there virtually every day, aided by the Connecticut Guard, doing the inspections, making sure the PPE is available, making sure frontline, they were the first ones able to get vaccinated. And here they were this morning at 9:30. Their bags were packed. They were getting their gas allowance. They're ready to hit the road at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning if there was a strike to make sure that all the seniors were well taken care of. And the first thing they were going to do is go into every senior's room and make sure they were there. Thankfully, I believe we walked back from the precipice, but I just want you to remember the amount of work, heart, and care that these folks in the Department of Public Health were ready to do yet again. Thanks, everybody.